Why should you consider moving to Paraguay, or at least securing a plan B in the beautiful South American country? I sat down today, right on this very chair, and asked myself the very same question. And I also went back and I viewed some of the videos that we shot on this channel in 2022, in 2023, and I came to the realization that we actually talked about certain points that nobody else was aware of. And so I'm really glad and very appreciative of our team bringing these things up on our channel. And there are a couple of things I want to pass on to you. If you've been on the fence, if you are unsure as to whether to move to Paraguay or maybe a different country, I hope that this video will be delightful, insightful, and educational at the same time. The first thing that I rarely hear people talk about that we first pointed out in 2022, in fact, we were the first channel that talked about Paraguay's natural resources, because this is one of the things that I personally look at before I go anywhere. I look at the legal structure of the country. I think that's very important. Like, how easy is it to get residency? And most importantly, what are the past immigration, terms of the country? What were the past immigration terms of the country? What stance did the country take on immigrants? Was the country very open to immigrants? Was the country closed? What's the history of the country? So I looked at all of this, and we came to a lot of conclusions, and the data usually doesn't lie. And while history doesn't always repeat itself, it often rhymes. It's very true in many cases across the board. What we have seen in Paraguay is an abundance of natural resources, and like I said, you can go back on our channel and look at the playlist, the Paraguay playlist, and we talked about this in 2022 and then also in early 2023, and we're really the only channel that pointed these things out. So very secretly, Paraguay is sitting on one of the largest freshwater reserves in the entire world. It's called the Guarani Aquifer, okay? And it's one of the biggest, I think the second largest. Obviously it's kind of hard to measure, and of course all these numbers that you see online are just rough estimations. There's nothing very precise on it because it's really not quantifiable, not easily at least. But Paraguay has this privilege to be sitting on one of the largest water reserves in the entire world. Now, what does that mean to you? Well, if you're worried about a lack of natural resources, if you're worried about natural resource scarcity in the next couple of decades, century, because you also think about your children and grandchildren, right? Then Paraguay is a very attractive option. Certain studies have been conducted, and of course, these things are hypothetical in many ways, but assumptions have been made based on these studies that Paraguay could supply fresh water to the entire world. And of course, this was based on certain consumption numbers, volume, but it said that Paraguay could supply fresh water to the entire world for over 100 years. And that's tremendous. Now, what if Paraguay were not to supply water to anyone, or perhaps just the neighboring countries of Brazil and Argentina? How long would Paraguay's freshwater reserve last? Very long, very long. Because the population growth in that specific geographic location isn't anything, that's going to make you jump out of your seat. It isn't. This region, the MERCOSUR region, isn't growing that much. I mean, we're talking about, the whole population. While Paraguay remains a pretty healthy medium, while Paraguay maintains a pretty healthy birth rate, it isn't a country of hundreds and hundreds of millions of people, inhabitants. It isn't. In Paraguay, we got about 7 million people. That's it. That's not a lot. So even if the country were to grow by 5 to 10% a year, which obviously is not happening, but I'm just saying if they were to grow by 5 to 10% per year, I mean, the freshwater would still last for, many centuries, or even millenniums, if Paraguay were not to give away fresh water to the entire world. Of course, that would be done in a humane way to help other countries survive and thrive throughout the 21st century and beyond the 21st century, which is very important because water scarcity, food scarcity, agricultural problems are going to become more and more prominent in certain geographic locations like the Middle East. The Middle East is a region that is very, very, very agriculturally dependent, on so many countries because it's too dry, it's hard to grow anything unless you have a ton of fresh water, which they also don't have. Of course, freshwater issues can be resolved by setting up desalination plants. As we have seen, this has become very popular across the Middle East, but it doesn't come without its downfalls, its downsides. Like air pollution related problems, which then create health related problems, which create, lots of issues. And so while there may be a solution in place for certain countries and geographic locations, these solutions, they don't come without their cons. So a place like Paraguay has an abundance of natural resources, specifically water, fresh water, and it's underground. So that's great. And then of course also like Paraguay is an agriculturally strong country. It is. And there are a lot of things going on that I can't discuss in this video because they haven't been publicized in the same way. And so I'm going to keep certain information to myself and just reveal them to my clients because some of it is confidential. It comes from a pretty high level. But what I want is to demonstrate that Paraguay has all the capacity to become a successful country. A country that has agricultural riches. And the same is also true about Argentina and Brazil. Of course, countries have different issues. And so it depends on how the countries master their issues, which of course will determine the prosperity, the level of prosperity reached by any given country. But Paraguay has a very young population too. That's another strong point. If you want to hire people, if you want to build a company, if you want to focus on the Spanish-speaking market, if you just want to relocate and you want to have a great time, then this is also very important because living in a place where you can hire people that are young, energetic, and visionary, who want to work, I think this is very powerful too. And so in Paraguay you have that. Why? The median age is low. It's like 26 years or so. It's nothing. So the median age will likely remain low for a couple more decades to come. And on top of that, what's also true about Paraguay is that, the people there, they love children. They love having babies. And that's important for our society to not only survive, but thrive in the 21st century. And we don't want to see Paraguayan society change because it stands for so much good. And this is something that's really, 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 really cool about Paraguay. The low median age and just the birth rate is still good. I know it's gone down in Paraguay, like it has gone down in many places, but it's still much better than in most countries in the region, and a hell of a lot better than in North America and Europe. Paraguay is part of MERCOSUR. And MERCOSUR is a special region where certain trade agreements exist that benefit countries that are part of this trade agreement. And MERCOSUR has a lot of potential. Given, the trade agreements, specific like tax benefits, if you want to start a local company, there is like the concept of maquila, which is a concept where a local Paraguayan company may qualify for a 1% corporate tax rate, but there are many contingencies that apply, such as doing business within the MERCOSUR region. So it must be a country that exports either products, that's tangible products, or services, okay? And you have these options. You can trade between these countries, you can trade within the region, and it's just a great way to make money, to start another income stream, to get international diversification. It's a country and the region worth looking into because of the special tax benefits and treaties. Plus, you're also looking at a low median salary, a low minimum wage in Paraguay, Argentina, Brazil. It has a lot of potential for growth. I think that's very important. In the event of a large-scale global war, Paraguay will likely be a safe place to be for a number of reasons. First of all, Paraguay is quite neutral. Yes, it has ties to America. Yes, it has ties to the European Union, and that's a good thing. However, when it comes to like an international conflict, Paraguay is unlikely to be drawn into it. It's not part of NATO. That's important. It's just not completely obsessed with any country, and that may be a good thing for someone looking for like a backup plan. It's definitely a good thing for that. And then, of course, there are other benefits too, just the geographic location itself, being very far away from potential blast zones. I think that's very interesting, and you can also review this on our channel, and we pointed this out already like more than a year ago, that Paraguay would be a great place to be in the event of a nuclear war, which may or may never happen. But it's a theoretical concept that may come to fruition, may not come to fruition, who knows. But I think it's on the table. It's definitely an option. And so it's good to have a plan B to be protected against that, and also considering how little effort and money it takes to retain residency in Paraguay. I mean, it's a deal that pretty much pays itself, and you protect everything that you have, or a lot of what you have, by spending very little. And I think that's important. You spend very little to protect a lot. And this is something that you always want to be doing in life, especially if you have some money. And this channel, Nomad Elite, is focused on the middle class. That's been our mission, and the majority of our clients represent the middle class. Yes, we have more and more clients that represent the upper middle class, the wealthy, that's true, but the majority still is the middle class. So this really applies to everyone and anyone who wants to have more security, who wants to be protected in the event of a war. And Paraguay offers that kind of protection. It's a neutral country in many ways, and its geographic location is definitely a pretty good hand to be dealt in the event of a large-scale war. So these are all things that you want to consider. The another point is that Paraguay offers one of the easiest second residences in the world, and literally one of the easiest. No economic solvency proof, no matter what you may think. No income proof. You don't need to show any income proof. You don't need to prove savings. You don't need to prove net worth. Then Paraguay is one of the easiest countries to get residency. This is big. This is big considering how difficult it has become to get residency in, say, Mexico or even in Panama. It's gotten a lot more difficult, of course, unless you want to marry or start a corporation. But Paraguay itself really offers a very easy path to temporary residency. And once you're in the system, you can convert to permanent residency pretty easily. And things will not change in terms of like having temporary residency and being able to convert to permanent residency. That will likely not change anytime soon. It may change how difficult it is to get temporary residency. That will likely change because there's just more and more applications. But talking about the path from temporary residency to permanent residency in Paraguay, that will likely remain the same. And so yeah, that's cool. I mean, you don't have to prove any income. You don't have to prove how much money you make every month. You don't have to prove your savings. You don't have to prove your net worth. They don't ask you to put down any money to get temporary residency. Nothing. And so this is a very lenient approach by a very warm-hearted country that I think more people should be taking advantage of. And if you are interested in getting residency right now, while the requirements are easy, then I would do it right now because we're running a special in May 2024. You can purchase our Paraguay residency packages at a significant discount. So please take action on this offer. It's only up for a little bit longer, not much longer. And you can do that by clicking on the link below the video. Cheap farmland is another big point. So many of our clients are moving to Paraguay because they want to own livestock. They want to have a little farm, Some people want to go commercial, and that's fine too. Everyone has different plans and we have different aspirations, and that's perfectly fine. But there are many people that want to have like a nice house with a garden, or some people want to have like a hectare of land, but they can't afford it back home because it's gotten overpriced, It's become unaffordable. And so Paraguay offers really a pretty easy option there where you can purchase a hectare of land for as little as, $1,000 or $2,000. Of course, there is undeveloped land, there's developed land, and of course the closer you are to Asunción, Ciudad del Este, and Encarnación, like the major cities, the more you pay. Of course, I'm not saying that it's going to be this cheap everywhere and anywhere. That's not true, but you can find really good deals. You can find undeveloped land for really as little as $1,000 and maybe even less, but you can also pay a few $1,000 per hectare. Or if you want to get developed land, that will be more expensive depending on where it's located, but it's still going to be more affordable than in your home country where a hectare of land might cost you $30,000 to $100,000, which is a lot, depending on what your objectives are. Of course, there's also cheaper land available in North America, depending on where you're looking to buy, but it's just a lot more expensive. The cheap cost of living. This is one of the biggest reasons now in the West we're seeing a cost of living crisis that isn't just affecting one particular country. It is affecting the whole region, the whole Western Hemisphere. Since the past health crisis, and especially since the conflict we're seeing in Eastern Europe, so many things have become crazy, like crazy prices, even if it's just the basic necessities of life. We're talking about food, shelter, utilities, transportation, everything has skyrocketed in many countries. And so people are worried about not being able to pay their bills. And if people have the option to work online or to start a business where they can diversify their income, or where they can potentially even make more money than they used to back home, because as we have learned from previous videos that we did, in Paraguay there isn't a ton of competition in a lot of different areas. And because of that, you may be able to excel at a much faster pace and with more gravity to it than if you were to start the same business in your home country, or if you were to continue the same business in your home country. Why? In your home country, you're dealing with insane taxes, insane regulations, insane cost of labor, just how much it costs to hire people, and the whole compliance associated with it. It's mad. It really is pure madness. In Paraguay, you don't have that as much. And so the cost of living is really something that is fantastic in Paraguay. And now, obviously, we spoke about, starting a business and getting your life together professionally. But there are a lot of benefits to just living there as a regular expat. Being able to go out to have a nice meal, being able to go out to have a nice meal that won't break your bank account is something that's almost unheard of in many Western countries. You can do it once or twice a day. You can't afford it anymore. But in Paraguay, you can afford a good meal outside once, twice, 3 times a day, no problem. If you come into Paraguay, if you bring Western income with you into Paraguay, you can live like a king. And so why wouldn't you take advantage of that? Why would you wait until your 60s or 70s, until you burned out, until you have, spent all this time and money and energy to create the nest egg that could potentially be worthless? If you put money in a 401k, it's for sure good in many ways, so I'm not debating that. Neither am I an expert at investing, I don't claim that, but I'm just saying that you can have a much better life in different countries, and you can utilize your unique skill set in Paraguay by doing things that are potentially unheard of down there. But there's still demand for these services, and if you have Western quality service or a Western quality product in Paraguay, you can make a ton of money. If you find the right category, you can potentially make much more money than you could make with the same product back home. Lack of competition, cheaper resources, cheaper labor, less regulation, lower taxes. All these things, they're important. When we're talking about profit margin, all these things matter. But anyway, now we go again back and forth between, just the value you get for your money when you're talking about starting a business, when we're talking about your personal life, what you can spend, your spending power. You can get probably anywhere from, 20 cents to maybe 40 cents on the dollar, depending on what you're looking to buy. Of course, there are many things that are actually more expensive in Paraguay, like electronics. Many cars are more expensive, even though they make more economic versions in, say, Brazil that you can buy in Paraguay. There are more economic cars available in Paraguay because the local market demands these cars more than in a country like the United States or Canada, because in North America, people have greater purchasing power. They can get loans more easily. But in Paraguay, it's like you earn less, and so, or just how much you can save on housing. If you can rent a 2-bedroom apartment for $500 a month, how much would that cost you back home? Probably 3 times, minimum 3 times that. That's something to consider, how much you can save and how much faster you can beef up your bank account, become financially independent. Even if you're average, even if you're a middle-class nomad, you can become a wealthy nomad by living in Paraguay for 5 years, for 10 years. You can accumulate riches by paying less in taxes, by cutting down on your living costs, and at the same time you live better. You live better on less. And that's the whole point of life. So many nomads are drawn to Paraguay because of the tax residency benefits. There are huge tax benefits to living in Paraguay, especially if you come from a country where you can utilize a lot by leaving the country, pretty much. When you leave your Western country and relocate to Paraguay, obtain tax residence in the country, you can benefit big time, really big time. And Americans can utilize the foreign earned income exclusion, which may double if both of you have income. Right now it's about $126,500 a year, and so you're looking at $253,000 worth of exemptions every year if you qualify for the maximum, of course. So there's always contingencies, and if you don't live in America, if you live abroad and you can prove it, you have tax residency, all of that. And of course, there's also Americans, the British, Europeans, EU citizens, Australians, New Zealanders. You guys can all benefit by moving to Paraguay because your countries do not apply citizenship-based taxation. The United States applies citizenship-based taxation, which is a pain because no matter where you live in this beautiful world, you have to pay taxes. At a certain point, you have to pay taxes, even if you're out of America forever. You have to pay taxes. As long as you keep your citizenship, you have to pay taxes. And that's painful, but if you're a Canadian, a Brit, if you are an Australian, a New Zealander, you have to pay less in taxes, or maybe nothing if you live abroad and your income does not come from your country of citizenship, and you live in Paraguay and you have income from different places. I mean, it's really good. And you could get your income down to 0%. Your foreign sourced income, you could get it down to 0%. And of course, a lot of ifs and buts, but that's why when you work with Nomad Elite, we educate you on the tax laws of different countries, and we make sure that you don't cross any red lines. We make sure that you're fully prepared, educated to execute a plan that works for you and that really helps you to keep more money, bank more money, invest more, and have more. And so Paraguay is a great place for that. The tax residency is one of the best in the entire world. It's easy to get, easy to maintain, and it comes with a lot of flexibility. Like I said, it's just something worth looking into. And think about the amount of money that you can save, the kind of life you can live, the kind of things you can preserve for yourself and future generations. I mean, this is inspirational. And of course, what would Paraguay be without its dating benefits? A big point that attracts so many singles across the globe to move to Paraguay. And this is a single guy talking to you about the dating scene in Paraguay, and it's vibrant, it's energetic, has good energy, and there's just a lot to gain from that, I think, especially if you come from an environment where the dating has not really delivered up to its expectations. And that's been a problem in the Western Hemisphere, where traditional values have gone down and many people have given up on dating because it's no longer what it stands for. It's no longer what the textbook definition suggests. And people don't want that. People want to have a family. They want to be with someone who can appreciate them, someone they can appreciate. Everything is mutual. Everything in life is a value for value exchange. And people just want to have a modest life. Many people, many of our clients, they just want to have a modest life. And if you're watching this video and you want to go to Paraguay, maybe you want to have a simple life. You know, you want to share your life with a nice person who appreciates the little things in life. And Paraguay is a great place for that because why? It's a very conservative country. It's a very traditional country. It is not a superficial country at all. It's really the opposite of many Western countries, or a lot of the trends that we're seeing even now in Eastern countries. It is really, 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 really a place worth looking into if you're looking for a long-term relationship, whether you're looking to get married and start a family, or whether you're looking for a solid long-term partner. Paraguay has plenty of options for you. Finding someone younger than you will also not be a problem because it's available. You know, it's available and it's even accepted in the local culture. So even if you're already in your 40s or 50s, you know, or in your 60s, you can find someone who is a lot younger than you. And that's certainly very attractive to a man, especially if back home things aren't really working out. And there's nobody to be blamed for that. Many of you guys have worked for a long time to preserve capital and maybe want to start a family later on in life because you made certain sacrifices or you just never had a chance to begin with for whatever reason. It was too difficult, you worked too much, or you just didn't meet the right person. You know, there are many reasons why people didn't marry someone, right? Why people didn't get married, why people didn't start a family. There are many reasons, you know, and now there are more reasons than ever. You know, we're talking about the cost of living, we're talking about the difficulty associated with dating in the West, and just how it feels too, you know, what it means. So you guys have legitimate reasons to look elsewhere, and I completely resonate with that, and I'm in the same situation for many different reasons, and so it just makes sense, you know, there's a reason for everything. But if you're looking to find love in Paraguay, then you know, you can definitely find it. It's available. It's very doable. It's possible. Why are you looking to move to Paraguay? What are your thoughts about living in Paraguay? Are you currently in Paraguay? When are you planning to relocate to Paraguay? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're interested in becoming a client and if you want to take us up on our May 2024 specials, then please feel free to check out the link below the video. We would love to work with you. We would love to help you get residency in Paraguay. And as always, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching Nomad Elite, and we see you on the next video.